live on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeartRadio station. I'm your host, Roman, and we have a great show planned for you today. But first, the forecast from our IntellectualRadio.com weather center today: partly sunny, high 65 degrees. Tonight, clear and mild, low 49 degrees. Tuesday, partly sunny, high 57 degrees. Tomorrow night, cloudy and cool, low 37 degrees. Wednesday, on and off cool, 43 degrees. Thursday, showers and thunderstorms in the area and warm, high 58 degrees. Friday, periods of rain and showers in the area. High 47 degrees. Over the weekend, 50 degrees. The Drive at 5 is also part of the new Monday night lineup, starting with a new show called Dateable at 12 p.m. The T.O. Hardiman Show at 4 p.m. starting next Monday. The Great Entrepreneurship at 6 p.m. New Black Leadership at 7 p.m. Dream Makers at 8 p.m. 9 p.m. Chronicles of Rum and the Raw Checklist at 10 p.m. Also, the Drive at 5 is also part of the fabulous 5 at 5 only on IntellectualRadio.com. The Drive at 5 is sponsored by Joshua Flynn and Associates Insurance. Get your insurance is very important. Today, my guest is a former gubernatorial candidate, former executive director of Ceasefire, and community leader. He's the one and only that we turn to for his input of what's going on in the community. The one and only T.O. Hardiman. Welcome back
It's
to the Drive.
It's an honor to be on the Drive at 5 on Intellectual Radio. It's really a blessing.
Okay, thank you. So, well, live in the flesh, though.
Live in the flesh, right.
And also, I should add, you're an educator as well because you teach at the...
I teach at North Park University in criminal justice.
Okay, so it's very important to highlight all the accolades that you have. Let's start with the election.
Yes.
Given the election for mayor, what Chicago is saying to these elected officials on how they are governing in the city of Chicago, due by the results, what happened, it wasn't even close. It was a landslide. And then you had several aldermen in runoffs, and the incumbents lost their position.
Yeah, some of the incumbents lost their position. And when you talk about Chicago politics, Toni Preckwinkle, she only secured a little bit over 100,000 votes. That was really, really a dismal voter turnout for a Cook County Board president. That's saying something, because I just think the people of Chicago wanted somebody different, somebody new, somebody that was not kind of tied to any type of old school machine politics. That's what happened in Chicago. But overall, we have about 1.6 million registered voters in Chicago. Only a little over 400,000 people showed up to vote. So that goes to show you 1.1 million people didn't even come out to vote. So there was a low voter turnout overall. So that says a whole lot when it comes down to the electoral process. Lori Lightfoot won, overwhelmingly. She won all 50 wards. People were looking for somebody different. So Lori's the mayor now, and we have to work with her. And, she has her work cut out for her, because she has a city council she has to deal with. She has old school, people like Burke and people in the city council that may try to rise up against her. But I don't think they're going to be successful, because Chicago is just looking for new leaderships. That's the reason I ran for governor, believe it or not, because I was hoping that people would catch on. You just need a little bit more money when you run for higher level office.
But why are they running for? Looking for new leadership? What is the reason?
Well, it's been proven that the old machine has actually it has not worked for a lot of people. And this is based on the data, based on everything that's going on. You can prioritize some of the issues, especially for Black Chicago and Black Illinois. Number one, we have a mass exodus of African-American people moving out of Chicago. Nobody has been able to kind of stop that particular wave of people leaving Chicago. And then we have another situation with the high levels of gun violence in Chicago. Some Black communities in Chicago, like the East, South, and West Side, some of the communities are barren areas. Dilapidated buildings. I counted over 1,000 abandoned storefronts on 79th Street, from Damon all the way down to Yates on the east side, from the west, from Inglewood to South Shore, over 1,000 abandoned storefronts. It's totally unacceptable.
But somebody would say, whose fault is that? Is that the leadership fault, or we the people who elect them fault?
Well, I'll tell you whose fault it is, in my opinion, anyway. I think it's a combination, it's a blended answer, so to speak, because it's a lot of people at fault due to the fact that some politicians will secure office or either even obtain a particular office, but their priorities may shift. And they don't really speak up for the poor and working class people, but the poor and working class people continue to vote them in office. Because there's no way in the world I would be able to hold my head up as a governor or any high level position, and I look at the conditions in the community, and I haven't brought nothing to the table, nothing that's what you might say, like they talk about empirical data in the scientific world, and you can't point to no type of major achievements. We need to turn the South Side, 79th Street, into an oasis where you have 5-star hotels, real nice 5-star restaurants. I mean, car dealerships. I mean, we need to do something revolutionary.
But that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
You mentioned the South Side.
Yeah.
You mentioned the West Side.
I did mention the West Side early on.
Oh, okay. But
Right.
what I'm saying, brother,
That's right.
what I'm saying, brother,
Yeah.
is kind of like
Yeah.
people are just concentrating on the South Side, not on the West Side.
Oh no, the West Side is my backyard. I mentioned the West Side early on while we were talking. I mentioned South, East, and West. I would like to see Madison and Pulaski or 16th and Lawndale turn
But
it
they
into an
call
oasis.
Madison and Pulaski Korean town.
Well, yeah, can you blame them? You know, the Koreans own most of the clothing stores up there. You have to understand, Idi Amin back in Uganda, when he became the president of Uganda, his thing was to turn all the businesses over to Uganda people from Uganda. He expelled, like he got rid of the Indians over there and some of the Arab business people. And you know what happened once our people took over the businesses, they had to still go to the Arabs and the Indians to get the clothes and to get all the materials they needed to stay in business. And a lot of businesses actually went under. So we need more than just what you might say, people to talk a good talk. We need people that have actual blueprints and plans on how to sustain business. That's very important, because if you're not used to sustaining business, you know you're going to fail sooner or later somewhere down the road.
So if you're looking at the business and talking about entrepreneurship, there is no resources in some of these communities. They have to go outside. We discussed that last week.
Right.
I'm going to present that question to you. I have to go outside of my community in order to get something, to get ahead. Why should I go outside my community where I grew up, spend taxes? This is where my mom stayed for years. And now she's about to move because she cannot afford the taxes. What you think?
Well, Joe Barrios just lost his seat because he's the Cook County. He was a Cook County assessor, overtaxing people in poor communities per se. All in the south suburbs, and he's out now. You got this guy Fritz Casey, whatever his name is. He's another rich guy that won that particular seat. So we plan to take a look at what he's going to do. That's another reason why I ran for governor, because you got people like Mike Madigan. He's like a real estate tax appeals attorney. So you got politicians playing both ends. So Madigan was able to really benefit from the increase in taxes. And that's been spelled out by a lot of politicians over the decades, but nothing has changed. My a young man I ran against for governor, Chris Kennedy, he actually talks about it all the time. Others like me talk about it. Well, who you think you are? I'm T.O. Hardiman. I come from royalty. My people worked the plantations in America. And before our ancestors, I traced my ancestors all the way to West Africa and Ghana. I'm a light-skinned brother, but I traced my roots all the way to West Africa. Sincerely, I did a DNA heritage. And the reality is this: the Congo, Ghana, and Mali. Okay. And then you got some European in there too, because that just happens. You got a small percentage there. But the reality is this: our ancestors paid our dues in this country of America. And I love the country because it's all I know. But I'm not going to play games like I got to play second fiddle to people just because they got big money. Just because you're a billionaire don't make you any better than I am. That's the reason why I ran for governor. And what we're doing now in America, we're setting this precedence that if you ain't got no money, you don't really count. It's really backwards thinking, bro. And that's what
But that's what the community is saying. That's what some leaders are saying. That's what everybody and their mama is saying. In order for you to obtain a leadership position in the state of Illinois, how much money you have?
Well, to run for a state rep position, it's mandatory that you have a minimum of $250,000, and then if you have a serious competitor, somebody running against you, you may need $1 million.
But it's just like dating.
Yeah.
It's like a woman telling you what you're bringing to the table. Well, hell, I'm bringing a knife and a damn fork. What can you do if you're trying to make change here?
Right. Well, the reality, Roman, that's the way of the world right now. But what I do like is women are starting to take over. Women rock. Black women, Hispanic women, Asian women, Muslim women. You got women in all kinds of high level posts throughout America now, and especially here in Cook County in Chicago. You got an African American female mayor. You got a lieutenant governor, African American female. Melissa Myers, Jason Irvin's wife. She's the city treasurer now, and Kim Fox, state's attorney. The list goes on and on. So I think that black men, we must salute the black women because they're stepping up to the plate. I think some of the brothers they went to sleep at the wheel, and our women had to step up and take over. That's the way I feel about it, and I'm glad the women did.
Chicago has a new mayor, and now instead of rhetoric, action needs to take place. Tough decisions on the budget, police department, and crime. There is talk about more taxes will be raised before the end of the year. What advice would you give the new mayor on handling these issues?
Well, the advice I would give to Lloyd Lightfoot would be make sure she surround herself with the most brilliant minds to deal with the city budget. Because, when you run for like governor or mayor, what you do, professionals anyway, in particular fields of expertise. That's what J.B. Pritzker did. You see, what happens is that I don't know, sometimes it's a thing where if you don't come from the privileged type of society, you may not be qualified to do something per se. And that's not the right type of thinking. We need to, I was qualified to run for governor because J.B. Pritzker's qualifications were no different than mine. He just was a billionaire. He had no experience in no political office. I ran for governor twice. Just to answer your question directly, though, and the reason I went there is because that's what JB did. He hired some of the best brilliant minds. He picked up Kurt Summers from the Treasurer's Office to help manage the budget for the state. And then what Lori would have to do is something similar for the city to make sure that the pension is taken care of. She has a lot of work to do with the Chicago Public Schools, reducing gun violence, and then kind of like putting some type of stop to the mass, the mass exodus of black folks moving out of Chicago. That's a real and present situation. Over 180,000 African American people moved out of Chicago over the last 15 years.
What would keep them, from moving? What would say, you know what, forget it, I'm staying?
Well, we have to transform the community. We have to transform the west side, east, and the south side, where we have high densities of African American people living, because the African American vote can make or break any candidate in Chicago. But see, the thing is, everybody wants the black vote, but when it comes to giving a reciprocal process, nobody's really giving back in the economic development arena in the black community. See what happens also, bro, so you'll be clear. You got individuals out here that go in and get a piece of the pie or a piece of the action for themselves individually, but they're not really speaking for the masses of the people. Now, the masses of the people, they vote overwhelmingly for a particular candidate because that's just what it. See, it's a whole lot to talk about, and I don't want to go back and forth. But the thing is this: like the polls will come out. The people pay for polls to see who's moving up in the polls, who might win the race. How do we know those polls are not rigged? Who are the people they poll? So when the poll comes out saying this person's on top now, that's what the psyche of the people start thinking, well, I'm going to go with this person. I wish they would do away with polling systems, period, altogether, and let us just run and see who wins on election day. That's what I would like to see. But what happens is that everybody wants the black vote, but we don't see nothing in return most of the time. Individuals gain, yes.
But black leadership should force the person who basically say the following: why are you in my community? What are you going to do for me in order to get my support?
That's not happening. See what's going on, because you got the slave mentality. You got that whole narrative where they use the black preachers back on the slave plantation to keep the people calm and tell people it's okay to be in slavery. It's okay to be in economic hardship, because when slavery ended, the churches became more of an institution where some of the other leaders that were not African American would come talk to the pastor and he would calm down the masses of the people. The narrative plays out even in 2019. You see let me say this to you. You don't see no Hispanic pastors and no white pastors on the news talking about who they're endorsing for mayor. You don't see that. If you do see it, you show me where you see it at, okay? Only in the black community do you have these type of strange politics taking place. And it really needs to stop because you have to separate the church from the politics. But in our community, then you got these perceived leaders, that come from out of anywhere. I'm the leader. And next thing you know, they go in and get a chop for themselves. They forget about everybody else because the mindset is turned into I got to look out for me. And once I look out for me, then I might be able to look out for my family and look out for some other people. But it's about me right now. We got to stop that type of mindset and change the mindset and work on the collective.
Let's say you are the mayor or in the governor's position office right now currently. What would be your first legislation you would consider tackling and why? You list a whole bunch of problems. Give us the first number one issue that Governor or Mayor elect T.O. Hardiman legislation that you will put on the floor for the aldermen to vote and tackle.
Well, my thing, Brother Roman, number one is stopping the killings in Chicago. So whatever type of legislation that we can pass for as far as increasing funding for grassroots organizations that don't have to receive their funds from some umbrella organization that don't look anything like the people that are involved in the killings in Chicago. Over 85 to 90% of the killings occur in the black community. So black community stakeholders should be receiving the funds. And I would actually pass a policy whereas if you don't have a track record completely like no 5-year track record, that should not prohibit you from receiving state funds to reduce the killing in your own community. Because right now, the way it's shaped is that African American grassroots organizations have to go in a petition or go beg for funding from other organizations like Arnie Duncan, Chicago Cred. He received $90 million. It's not state money, but he got it from Paula Jobs, Steve Jobs' wife from Apple. Steve Jobs' wife, Steve Jobs passed away, and his wife, she, for some reason, Arnie has a relationship with her, and he got $90 million, $80, $90 million. Tenny Gross, another guy on the west and south side, got $25, $30 million, and they all sit on a board. It's comprised of all these other stakeholders that are not from our community, and you got to go talk to them about getting money for your community and your program. That's not right. I don't care what anybody has to say. We need a black face on violence prevention, and we need to support black organizations on the ground level. So when I became governor, that's what people need to really understand. T.O. Hardiman for governor, I would have made sure that black folks receive everything they had coming to them and more. I plan to look out for poor white people, Hispanics, and Asian people as well. But my priority was to make sure that black folks receive 30% or whatever the percentage is for construction contracts, the marijuana business, whatever it is, like when they legalize marijuana. So all this just looking out for me. I plan to bring an end to that mess. Even as the mayor, I would have brought an end to it because I'm tired of, see, you got to understand, Irish people, Italian people, Mexican people. I have nothing against no other ethnic group, but what they do, they secure these construction companies, and like Waltz Construction has been around for almost 70 some years. They pass it down from generation to generation. They know that their grandsons, sons, and daughters are going to have a job. In the black community, little John and all them, they struggling to find a work. Okay, so as a governor or as the mayor, those would be the changes that I would bring immediately to this overall dysfunctional system. You're not going to get black votes without you producing something for the black community. That was my whole stance.
Recently, you tried meeting with the mayor-elect Lori Lightfoot to discuss crime issues in Chicago. You were kind of turned off by it because people who are in the trenches, elected, what you just said, elected officials, are listening to them instead of the people who are in the trenches, meaning people who are not in the trenches are getting the money, as you said, versus to the people, they are listening to the people who are not. So my question is, why they're not listening to the people who live in the communities, but listening to the ones that they think they know?
Well, no, first and foremost, Lori Lightfoot, I plan to work with her to the best of my ability. I have reached out to her, haven't heard back. I want to make that clear. I've reached out to her a couple of times, but she may text me back sometimes to let me know that she's gonna catch up with me, which I believe she will. But at the same time, I'm looking at what's going on out here. See, like Arnie Duncan and Tenny Gross. Now, people may say, well, why are you bringing up other people, T.O.? I'm bringing up this to make an example.
Are you thinking that, and sorry to cut you off, are you referring to they're acting like vultures?
Yeah, well, Black Death is a hustle. Black Death is a pure hustle. Everybody is making money. And I plan to say it's live to you people. Everybody's making money on the deaths of Black people out here. And let me explain. That's my theory. Black Death is a hustle. Soon somebody's shot and killed, the circus comes out, and they all talk about what they're going to do next. But there's a catch. But we need this money over here. We can stop the next one, but we need this money over here. My staff out there, we're not getting paid like we used to. It's not even about pay. I was able to stop more killings with volunteers than I did with people that were paid anyway. Half of them guys out there in the violence prevention arena, they're still, half of them guys still gang banging, man. They still playing both ends of the spectrum, so to speak. And the reality is that if you really want to stop things, it will take a non-traditional approach. It's going to take some up-in-your-face type of strategies that are like fail-proof. And what I mean by that is the Black community has to come up under order and a discipline. If we're not ready to come up under a strict order and a discipline as Black men, you're not going to stop the killing, because that's the job of a Black man. I can't reveal everything I'm talking about on your show when I talk about the strict order and discipline, but the Italians did it. The Irish did it. The Mexicans are doing it now. You can't just go kill nobody in the Mexican community and think everything's going to be cool. Some of the Mexican guys do get shot every now and then, but it's a free fall in the Black community. You can kill anybody at any time. Anytime.
During the last televised debate, one of the moderators asked the mayor-elect Lori Lightfoot about an incident that was brought up here exclusively on the Drive at 5 that involves a Chicago police officer who threatened two young Black males, which was video recorded, to say the young Black males, that's what he said to him, "I will kill you and get away with it." The video went viral, and I asked Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx on the show. She said it was under investigation. When was asked by the moderator, you said yourself that the mayor-elect did not answer the question regarding the police officer. Why you think that?
You said I said that?
Yes.
When was that?
You said when you mentioned the mayor-elect did not answer the question effectively.
Okay, I don't remember when I said it, but I'll follow up on that.
Okay, go ahead.
So you said I did an interview with you and said that?
No. I did an interview with State's Attorney Kim Foxx.
Got it.
Regarding the video that went viral, that was asked by CBS 2 News moderator who mentioned it. The question is, the officer said, "I will kill you and get away with it." I asked on the show when Kim Foxx was brought up.
Yeah.
She said it was under investigation.
Okay. The
question was asked, did you think that mayor-elect answered the question effectively?
Okay, well, let me just say this here. If the politically correct answer, not from me, but from politicians, is that to say that it's under investigation. You can't go wrong by answering the question like that because it's under investigation. Apparently. That's the best way I can respond to it, just being honest with you, because that's the politically correct way that everybody's going about it. If the officer's on videotape telling the guy he can kill him and get away with it, that's totally unacceptable. That officer needs to be suspended, number one, placed on desk duty or whatever.
Why he shouldn't be fired right away?
Well, the thing
that's
about
a threat. If I threaten your life and say I can kill you and get away with it, and I'm sorry to go on tangent, but I'm going to go on one. Yeah. We're in a damn Donald Trump syndrome here. Okay. He said the same thing during his, I can shoot somebody in front of Times Square and get away with it. Right. This white police officer did the same doggone thing.
Well, it's more rhetoric coming from white police officers in particular, but this is the thing. The community has to raise up against that kind of, behavior. So like if the community is not saying anything, then that's crazy. Because now
you have the Black Caucus.
Well,
they knew about this. So obviously, why they're not saying anything?
Well, the officer who said that, the reason he said it because see, I've said this many times before.
Mhm.
Everybody's looking at all the killing in the black community. They saying, well, black folks kill each other in wholesale numbers, but white folks kill each other the same way. They just don't advertise. It's not black on black violence, white on white violence, Mexican on Mexican violence, because 9 times out of 10, it's somebody from your own race is going to shoot you or kill you. That's just the way things go. But that officer should be fired without a doubt immediately, especially if he's on videotape. That's where the problem's coming in at, because you cannot just fire an officer. If that's the case, Jason Van Dyke would have been fired soon as they saw the video.
So should we
Yeah.
hold people in Springfield accountable for that? The
Right.
FOP contract is coming up.
There's no question. There needs to be some policy and legislation passed. If an officer is caught on videotape and you've watched the totality of the entire video, and it's showing that that officer said something to threaten somebody, he should not only be locked up, he should be, only be fired, he should be arrested and charged. Because I'm on the drive at 5, and I was tell Roman right now after this show, Roman, I use the word, I ain't gonna say it because I don't want nobody to misconstrue, but you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
If I told you that you can call the police and fill out a report, and I'm going my butt to jail. So the officer should not have no immunity from that. The officer should have he should be prosecuted if he made them comments.
Let's get back to the election.
Yes.
What this election say about the leadership of Tony Preckwinkle? A lot of people is saying that she's going to have a hard time. Her leadership, her power has been diminished.
Well, it shows a weakness. It shows a kind of like like a little split in her armor, so to speak, like a chink in her armor, okay? Because the reason I say this is because Tony Preckwinkle is like 72, 73. God bless her soul, but she represents old school politics in Cook County and Chicago. So it's showing a major weakness with her, and I'm more than sure somebody will come up through the ranks and run against her for Cook County board president, and they just might win because, see, all of us have an expiration date when we need to sit it on down. I know it's hard for us to sit down, but this goes for congressman, Cook County board president, and this is the thing. She's already going to get a real hefty pension. So if she was to sit it on down and groom somebody else to step up, it's okay because she's still going to be seen as a Cook County board president. Like any congressman, they're still going to be seen as a congressman. So why wait until you pass away before you get a seat up? People, I'm thinking that's why you got a lot of young people that are disenfranchised with the voting process. They don't come out and vote like they should. And a lot of people just giving up on coming out to vote. Tony Preckwinkle, she showed a sign of weakness. Tony running for mayor, in my opinion, was a space saver. I believe she was a space saver. She knew she wasn't going to win that mayoral race. I think she was prompted to run by people talking to her, telling her she should run for mayor. I have nothing against Tony.
If she was a space saver, why she like, I'm going to pour dirt on you and salt on you?
That lady's a space saver trying to save face. That's why she had to pour. Look, you got to understand one thing. Anytime a candidate will go out of his or her way to produce commercials with such negative content about another candidate, which they do, it's a political game they play. That shows you their real mentality. That's some treacherous stuff people do. My thing is, if a person's never been convicted of a crime, if you've never been convicted of a crime, you should be able to run for office. And if there's no proof positive on anything you ever did, nothing to prove it in regards to conviction, stop bringing up negative stuff. Just talk about what you're going to do when you win office. The reason why people should vote for you. Politicians, Donald Trump and everybody, the Democrats, he says the Democrats are on a witch hunt against him. Tony Preckwinkle produced a commercial about a fire that happened, a fire where people lost their lives, trying to blame the fire on Lori Lightfoot. That was diabolical thinking, Brother Roman. That's diabolical. These people had lost their family members, and the family wanted her to take the commercial down, and she did not. These people lost kids in the fire. You can't blame that on Lori Lightfoot, and that's what Tony Preckwinkle was attempting to do. And then she tried to take credit for the community, for Laquan McDonald. I don't know what role she actually played, but I know I was out there on the front line with a lot of other unsung heroes out there. It's just ludicrous that politicians would stoop so low to make the next person look so bad. That's what they do, and it's not even right. Just focus on what you're going to do and why the people should vote for you. If I've been convicted, I shouldn't be running. I got that. But as long as I have never been convicted, I should be able to run. I mean, they'll go if you stole a candy bar when you was 10 years old. If they can't find nothing on you, they'll blow that up. But he was 10 years old and he stole a candy bar, a payday candy bar. He ran out the store with it, put it in his sock, ran down the street, and we saw him eating the candy bar on the corner. They'll put that in a commercial, Roman. They'll spend $1 million on 800 commercials to put the fact that you stole a candy bar at 10 years old, people.
Do you think because Tony Preckwinkle lost the election, do you think she's gonna pull her dress up in her blazer and basically say, you know what? I'm gonna tax the you know what out of these people. And it appears that the taxes of the soda tax will come up again. Do you think it's going to be the Tony revenge tax?
Well, apparently she has that revengeful type of spirit in her. I hope that she preys on it and she steps away from that type of behavior because, excuse me, sorry that. Yeah, I see it coming. I see it coming because she apparently has that revenge in her spirit, so to speak. That's the way I'm looking at it. I mean, hopefully she will not tax the working class people and the poor people because, see, this is the thing. She's already the Cook County Board President. Just let it be. There was no need for her to run for mayor, really. There was no need for Tony Preckwinkle to run for mayor. I mean, she can do what she wants to do, but she's in a prominent position. Let it go. Let somebody new get in the fold. And that's what happened with Lori Lightfoot.
Let's switch subjects again. Empire star Jussie Smollett has been cleared of all charges for falsifying a police report. You have some issues with that when you was on the Drive at 5. In Chicago, dropping all the charges is not normal per se in the African American community. However, in the white community, it is. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I appeared on Fox National News talking about the Jussie Smollett ordeal. And I'll just say this because I made a little fun out of it because it turns into an actual joke, really. The Jussie Smollett story, fake stage attack, whatever. Kim Fox, see, I'm not mad at Kim Fox because I plan to support her. She's an African-American female leader. We have to support her. But it's the way she did what she did that made a lot of people angry, okay? Because
because I'm baffled. What did she do if she's going by according to the law? And some people's like, well, hell, white people do it.
I get that, and I understand that. Nobody wished jail on Jussie Smollett. Let me make that clear. But the reality is that he had already volunteered for Operation Push under Jesse Jackson's leadership, even before he came to court when they dropped everything. Now, Kim Fox is saying in the media that he's not innocent. That young man should have been, I'm not going to say forced, but it should have been recommended that he tell the truth because he's steady going around saying that he did not stage the attack. But she's saying he's not innocent. So what I'm saying is the way you do everything. Jussie Smollett, just to have a little fun on the Drive at 5, when he said he's the gay Tupac, I was on Fox News. I said, he's not the gay Tupac. He's more like Milli Vanilli. That's who he is. I put it out there because he needs to produce a reality show called When Stage Attacks Gone Wrong, okay? 2.0. So I'm just being honest with you. So back to Kim Fox. Of course, people are going to be upset, even though, like everybody say, white folks get away with a slap on the wrist. Jussie deserved a slap on the wrist. I'm not saying he did not deserve a slap on the wrist, but it's the way you go about it. That's what the whole problem is right now because Kim Fox, she said that like 5,700 cases in which they worked out a plea bargain. I teach in restorative justice, so I understand restorative justice. Pay something back, allow the community to heal, and work it out, process so we can come back together as a whole, so to speak. But the bottom line, Roman, Kim Fox shouldn't be under no pressure because of that, though. The FOP, they need to just leave her alone and go ahead on about their business.
I have a follow-up question, and then I'll get to the FOP question. There was a picture in regards to his community service at Operation Push that puzzled me. He's sitting there, he's doing community service. You had Jonathan Jackson on there.
Okay.
And the audience full of white and Hispanic people. Operation Push is known, even I'm quoting Jesse Jackson, said he's the voice of the Negro.
Jonathan Jackson?
No, not Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson.
Oh, okay, got it.
He said this a long time ago.
Right.
If you have one black person in that photo, why would you release it? Why? I mean, my issue is if you're supposed to represent black issues
Mm.
and somebody that's a known superstar
Right.
that comes in, when you gather your own people,
Without a doubt, you should definitely have your own people there. But like, once again, these so-called community leaders, community champions, some of them, I beg to differ with, and it's questionable behavior because it's really all about a dog and pony show. That's what it's all about, a dog and pony show. People get up there, once again, talking about what they're going to do after something happens all the time. Nipsey Russell shot and killed in L.A. Now all of a sudden, all the gangs and came together in L.A. Because why does somebody have to get killed before we come together? In other words, why can't we come together right now? And that's what I'm talking about. So in that situation with Jussie Smollett, that entire situation turned into a big joke. And it makes no sense because out of all the attention, Jussie received the lion's share of all the media attention when Baby Chase was shot in the head during that same week. He's fighting for his life. 33-year-old female was shot and killed. Her son shot in the kneecap. Her husband fighting for his life. We had 2 African-American females shot and killed last week, but Jussie Smollett continues to kind of like dominate the headlines. And then you have a situation where 50 young women in Chicago, mainly African-American, have gone missing over the last 15 years. And there's a possible pattern of a serial killer in Chicago. And I'm not saying this to panic anybody, but I'm just providing anybody with information. They can look this story up. There was some forensics specialists that actually did some research on some patterns of missing and dead women. And there may be a possible serial killer in Chicago. Why not talk about that? Now, you had Superintendent Eddie Johnson about a year ago who stated that he didn't think there was no serial killer in Chicago. He doesn't have the expertise to know that. Even though he's a superintendent of police, that's not his field of expertise. He's not like a forensic specialist or anything, studying patterns of crime, other than just the shootings and homicides per se. But these serial killers, that's a whole nother pay grade.
you said you support Kim Fox. This is the first time the FOP conducted a protest regarding a state's attorney. Some people believe that the FOP wants someone white in that position that is in favor of police, regardless if they're right or wrong. What is your assessment?
This is the thing. It's sad because what happened, I know a lot of them white police chiefs that stood with the FOP, and a lot of them white police chiefs are not prejudiced. They're not. It's just the FOP probably forced their hand to get them to stand there with them. I would say a small percentage of them might have that issue, but they look out of place actually because they know, and I know a lot of them police chiefs that they had, that the FOP, like I said, the press conference with, they shouldn't even been there. I mean, because you don't have to agree just to agree. Crooked County, I'm not going to say Cook County. Cook County has been crooked for a long, long time. And because of all the advocacy, because of all the outreach that we've been doing out here on the front line with a lot of people, I don't want to take all the credit. A lot of people have stepped up, and I don't have time to name everybody. But the thing is this, all of us have stepped up to the plate out here in Cook County and Illinois and Chicago. So the FOP, they should step all the way out of the way with Kim Fox because it's not going to go nowhere. She will still receive the majority of black votes to reelect her whenever her term comes up again.
A lot of people say that it was racial because during the protest, as well as police officers who were on duty were protesting and showing intimidation, talking about lock her up, referring to Kim Fox. Some were wearing red hats with Donald Trump's insignia, "Let's make America great again." Some even had Nazi symbols, showing to show some intimidation out there. Now, my question is, do you think the FOP is making this racial?
Well, it has a racial overtone to it, but you have to understand, whenever we as black folks organize and exercise our First Amendment rights, it's not necessary. They have a right to step up and voice their opinions. I'm not knocking them for stepping up, and whatever they feel, they say they have a right to express their feelings, but they're going to be met with resistance every step of the way because we have a right to express our First Amendment rights. So I think they're going to hit a brick wall with Kim Fox actually, because it's not going to go anywhere. I really think it's in vain what they're doing, because nobody's going to turn on Kim Fox, not the masses of black folks anyway. because she made a decision to it was just, like I said, it's the way Kim Foxx did it. And see, this is the thing, it's about transparency. Even though Cook County hasn't been transparent under the former leadership, you had Dick Devine, which I knew him, he was a cool guy, Anita Alvarez. Where was the transparency at there? There was none, because we had a lot of people that were sentenced to prison unlawfully. People were prosecuted and convicted, and we had to overturn a lot of convictions in Cook County over the last few decades, and the system hasn't been fair. So Kim Foxx does something in her mind that is fair, and now they want to raise up and act crazy.
During the weekend, a 2-year-old boy was shot at a baby shower. 4 children was shot, including women. They're getting shot and even killed. Mm-hmm. Is this a sign of what's to come over the summer?
Well, it doesn't have to be a sign of what's to come. What's going on out here, going back to Arnie Duncan, Tenny Gross, these people, and people that are watching, you can look up these names. These people have received millions of dollars to stop killings in the black community. $80 million, I can hire every black man on every corner in Chicago for the next 20 years with $80 million. The money should go to organizations, and I'm not just pushing TO. You got a lot of grassroots organizations. My man Tyrone Muhammad is out there on the front line, ground level work. You got people out here doing good work in Chicago that need the money, and let us hire and work with our own people, because we work with our own people a different way. See, we may not be so politically correct when we work with our people. Give us the opportunity to get, see, the police say they have a list of some of the toughest guys in Chicago.
But they act like they're Santa Claus. Right. In a way, we're making a list and we're checking it twice. That's making sure you're naughty or nice.
I like that.
I mean, does that make sense?
Well, now give us the people, though. What I'm saying, give us the people on the list, and give us the money to work with them directly. Give black leadership the money to work with black folks.
But some black leaderships have received the money.
Well, I haven't seen too many of them, to be honest with you. I see African American people working for those organizations, yes. And you might have a couple of splinter groups that receive, not to the tune of $80 million, though, not to the tune of $25 or $30 million. No, there are no black organizations out there that have received millions of dollars like that. Not at all.
The Honorable Louis Farrakhan made his Sunday's address yesterday, holding his brothers and sisters accountable, and it went viral because he is sick and tired of seeing mothers grieving over their children's being shot and killed. This is in reference, which you made earlier, due to the killing of Nipsey Hussle. In this message, do you think his message, holding his brothers and sisters accountable, too little, too late, or at this point in time, will they listen to the minister?
Okay, let me say this. I respect Minister Farrakhan.
Wow, you had to take a breath on it?
Well, the reason why is I respect him. I had no other choice, because he's the leader of the Nation of Islam and all that good stuff. That's fine. And for people that are watching or listening or whatever, they may say, well, okay, well, I'm going to just go there, though. You can look back 20 years and hear Farrakhan say the same thing. You can look back 20 years or 30 years and hear Jesse Jackson say the same thing. We need to hold our brothers accountable and be our brother's keeper. They organized a 1 Million Man March and all that good stuff. People came back to town steady killing each other. See what I'm talking about. Every time something happens, we become reactionary. Now, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if Minister Farrakhan had his way with the Nation of Islam, that we can really reduce the killing. Make no mistakes about that. I know Farrakhan knows what it will take. But why he's not doing it, I really don't know. But the thing is, I'm just getting tired of a lot of our leaders, people we respect. And I only look up to God. See, I don't put no man on no pedestal. But we sit here and they say the same thing all the time. It's popular because Nipsey Hussle was shot and killed. So now it's popular. Was it popular when Baby Chase got shot in the head? Was it popular when the little brother got shot over on the south side many years ago? The brother got executed. The brother shot him in the alley, executed the 9-year-old brother, okay? Darian Albert got beaten to death, man, over at Finger High School many years ago. So the point I'm making, how long are we going to have the same conversation? Even myself, I go live on Facebook. I talk about it's time to unify, come together. When are we going to do it? And then when you're talking about unifying, I'm not talking about just black folks in general. All them shooters need to unify and say, look, we're going to bring an end to this mess. And then the truth of the matter, in LA, now they're saying the Crips and the Bloods unified and came together. after the death of Nipsey Russell. But the truth of the matter is that Snoop Dogg and the rap group Cypress Hill, they had already formulated a truce many years ago with the Crips and the Bloods. The Crips and the Bloods are not fighting in LA anyway. It's Crips killing each other. So it's not like they got gang warfare in LA anyway. The Bloods are not fighting the Crips like they used to back in the 90s and the late 80s and stuff, okay?
The killing of Nipsey Hussle, who lived in his community, loved the people in this community, and not afraid of where he was born and raised, giving people opportunities, jobs, buying blocks for affordable housing, saying you are not taking the community away from us, as well as giving single mothers and fathers money to assist them with their bills. Many rappers are using Nipsey Hussle's death to say the following, and I quote, "The reason I do not live in my community or do for my community or do for my community from afar because of snitches and jealousy people who want to see you down instead of elevated." Your thoughts on that?
Well, I studied Nipsey Russell in that regard. The moral of the story is this here. With Nipsey Russell and his entire death, see, one thing, I'm going to go to the streets with you here. See, if you come from the streets, you know in your street knowledge and your street experience not to call a killer a snitch or a what you might say an informant. You should know better than that. Okay. Nipsey probably kind of went to sleep at the wheel a little bit because apparently they say he had stopped by a store because a friend of his was just released from prison. He was going to the store to give him some clothes. That's what they're saying. So he had his daughter with him. He was off security. Nipsey needed security around him 24 hours a day, basically, unless he was at home. He should have cooled out at home. But whenever he would go out into the environment, he probably slipped a little bit because the guy that allegedly shot and killed him came from his inner circle. He knew what the guy was capable of. So why would you, become lax in a situation like that? That didn't make no sense to me because the guy allegedly came back and shot him, then kicked him in his head when he was down. So that made it more personal. You don't call no killer, no snitch, or no informant and not be ready to kind of back it up in some kind of way. You just don't do that. Now, Nipsey may have basically kind of underestimated the situation because he was in his community, but a lot of brothers, Tupac got killed because I think he got laxed on security. If you're a celebrity, you need security, bro. And whenever you're out in public, you need security, period.
Well, let's talk about Chicago rappers and why they not really stepping up in the communities, and should they be held accountable for they grew up. See, here's the problem that I have. Let's say you and I come, we do a rap together, right?
Right.
It goes somewhere. We're making millions and millions of dollars talking about the African American women, the community. The list goes on and on. We're millionaires, right? Why Chicago rappers? They talk about the oppressed in the Henry Horner housing projects. I stayed in the Cabrini Green, Rockwell Gardens,
Right.
but when you move on, you don't leave saying, okay, I understand I talked about this issue,
Right.
but let me help you elevate it.
But how can you really try to organize people in a positive way when you're rapping about shooting and killing people? Seriously, how you come back now and say, well, look here, we need to be peaceful. And in some of your rap lyrics, you talking about you going to get it in, you got many guns and bam, bam, and all that kind of stuff. That's not all the rappers, but if you talk about Chicago rappers, and I'm not here to name none of them because I know some of them personally. I'm not going to go like on no, rampage, mentioning their names, but you got rappers, young rappers from the South Side Chicago, West Side Chicago that are talking about killing in their rap songs. Common is a positive rapper, without a doubt. He can only do so much. He's a different type of rapper. Chance the Rapper's a different type of rapper. But you got some of these so-called gangster rappers, you can't expect them to come and do. How do you look? Seriously. If you rapping about killing somebody, now you in the hood telling people not to kill. That's like an oxymoron, okay? In my opinion. It's like you telling people not to do something that you're doing and you promoting it. You on a video with people with guns all in their hand.
Illinois is headed for the legalization of marijuana. Some African American leaders believe this is a good thing, while others believe it is a bad thing for African American community. What are your thoughts about the legalization of marijuana in Illinois?
Well, when I was running for governor My thing is, it's okay to legalize marijuana, but we need to do some commutation of people that were convicted for marijuana crimes. So there needs to be mass commutations and let these people out of jail. Because and then when you legalize marijuana, the people that have been convicted for selling marijuana should be at the table when it comes down to opening up some of these dispensaries throughout Illinois. And what I mean is that these young brothers that have been selling marijuana on the block, we need a think tank and show them how to incorporate their business. And there should be some government funding subsidies to help young entrepreneurs open up legal marijuana dispensaries here in Illinois. That's what needs to happen. If we don't do it that way, because I've heard that.
But Kimberly, State Senator Kimberly Lightford, is over that, and she's meeting everywhere else.
Okay.
Besides Inglewood, Austin, the hood.
Now, I wasn't familiar with her meeting. I've heard she's had some meetings, town hall meetings about it.
Yeah, everywhere besides.
Except, well, that's wrong. She needs to be called out on. Somebody needs to talk to her about it and find out what her thinking is. Because my thing is, once again, poor people have been taken advantage of and exploited here in Illinois and throughout the United States, and especially when it comes down to the failed war on drugs. And marijuana fits in that category. So allow some of these young African-American entrepreneurs to make some money and become legitimate business people. That's my thoughts about it. And don't take the young brothers or sisters for granted. Help them out every step of the way, show them how to do it, and let them open up them dispensaries.
If legalized, do you believe African Americans deserve reparation for the legalization of marijuana? And if so, what it should be?
So you're saying, do African Americans deserve reparations for
the legalization of marijuana? Let's say I've been incarcerated because I distribute a large amount of marijuana and I received 20 years. Yeah. It's legalized now. I'm out of jail, but 20 years,
I wouldn't say that they deserve reparations for because they sold marijuana. I'm in the fight for reparations because of the slave trade. I'm all for reparations for descendants of slaves, without a doubt. But giving you some money because they legalized marijuana, I believe you should be the first in line to open up a dispensary. Along with a group of guys, you can form a conglomerate organization of African-American offenders, ex-offenders, locked up for marijuana, and then they can open up all the dispensaries. I'm in favor of that. They should get priority in opening up some of them dispensaries, yes. But reparations because they served time for selling marijuana, as a governor, I would probably vote that down.
So you talk about reparation. A lot of people, especially in the presidential election that's coming up, they're having their kind of discussion on it. What would you like to see done? Some people are saying free education, higher education. Some people said housing. What would be a good form or a discussion about reparation? Because a lot of people say you ain't gonna get no $1,000 or you're not gonna get the $2,000 or money to pay off.
Well, that's one of the bigger problems, Roman. Everybody's talking about what the people need. I think if you can show that you are a direct descendant of slaves in America, I think you should have a choice of what you want. There should be categories. There should be a category that states if you want.
But everyone is a descendant of slaves.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Why would you say that?
You have to understand. Once you do a heritage, if your heritage can prove that you are a descendant of a slave plantation, then you move forward. There should be a category of 5 different choices for you. Education could be 1. Free housing could be 2. No more taxes can be 3. Or some money can be 4. However you want to do it, and that's what needs to happen.
Tio, it's always a pleasure. How they can get a hold of you?
Right on, brother. Right on.
See how that hour just flew by?
I flew by too fast, but you had a lot of good subjects. And hopefully the viewers got a lot of wealth of information from me. And I was a little bit more smooth on your show today because I'm usually a little bit more aggressive, on the show.
Well, yeah. How people get a hold of you?
Well, you can reach me. I'm on Facebook, T.O. Hardiman, Twitter, T.O. Hardiman, Instagram, LinkedIn, and T.O. Hardiman. My website is violenceinterrupters.org. Violenceinterrupters.org.
And you have a show that's premiering next week?
Yeah, every Monday here on Intellectual Radio. I'll be back. The T.O. Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman show every Monday at 4 p.m. on IntellectualRadio.com.
All right. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer, Wanda, who's behind the scenes. Thank you so much. You guys have a nice week.